Other video got destroyed. I got a phone call in the middle of it and I don't know what happened. So we're gonna have to start off in the middle. So what I have done so far is I've painted my board ash from Fusion Mineral Paint with a real nice thin coat, let it dry completely, and then I put my stencil on, and this is the important part anyway. So I've lined up the edge of the W with the edge of the board. You can see that right there. And I centered it in between the margin, so about the same on each side as far as, so I know it's straight. And then I did the second stencil, the flower with the M and the E, and I lined the E edge, the white edge, with the edge of the board there. You can also tell I didn't do a good job painting my board. I left some wood showing just because I like the rustic look. And I made sure my board was super dry before I adhered my stencil so it would stick better. So now I'm using a light colored, I think this one's Picket Fence. Nope, it's raw silk. I'm going to use some raw silk, and I've dipped my sponge in. And the big deal here is to take off the extra paint. Now I hope you've removed the transfer tape. Your stencils came with a clear layer of plastic over the top. After you put your stencils on, after you've pulled it off from the backing paper and laid it on your board, then you just pull that clear up, and now you can get to the wood. You've left all this. That transfer tape is just an extra set of hands to help you position your stencil, and then you can get rid of it. And so now that your stencil's on, I'm actually going to start with my flower so that it'll be dry so I can put the center in. I've got a center stencil right there waiting for me, but I can't use that until I get this done. So I'm going to pat. I'm not using too much paint. I dipped in and took the extra off and kind of clear it off. You don't want too much because you don't want it to run underneath your stencil. So I'm just going to pat everything with one coat and then show you what it looks like. Okay, so this is what one layer looks like. It's very thin, very see-through. I've got to let that dry completely where there's no dampness, no wet spots, and then a sponge again. Now if I did not wait, let me find a spot that's still pretty wet. Let's say this one, it's kind of wet right through there. I may pull up. I won't get that second coverage that I want because I'm just seeing the first through it because it kind of pulls up the first. So let it dry completely before you tap on your second or even your third coat. So once you get the coverage you want, then we're going to pull off the stencil. So I'm going to get the coverage I want and I'll be back. Okay, I have pretty good coverage now. I can still see a little bit of my ash through some of my letters. I don't mind because I like the rusticy look, but you can let it dry and give it one more coat. This I did 3. You can see there that's going to have a mottled look to it. I'm all for it. But I do want to talk about the flower. The flower, we're going to do something different now. I'm going to dip into my paint with my sponge brush, and each petal, now that it's fairly dry, I'm going to like rub it in the direction of the petal. From the center, going just around the outside edges, maybe a swipe down the middle. Let me see. And then a swipe. Whoa, I about dropped my phone. Sorry. I am not a camera person, but I do like to craft. Oh, look at that. I rubbed off wet paint. Tap that in there and try to... Yep, we're going to have to just let that sit. So make sure it's dry before you do this. And go around each petal. And I've got paint in there I'm going to have to fix. You see where I got white paint in my line? Yep, I was just tapping away. Didn't pay attention. I should have taped that off. But oh well, I'm going to leave that. We'll see what that looks like. Okay, going back and cleaning up where there's no pats, where there's like smoother flowers. So that's, you can kind of see the brush strokes. See the glare on it a little? All right, moment of truth, everybody. I am not going to wait. I'm just going to pull it off. If I can get a hold of it. Starting to come off. If your paint is really good and dry and smooth. These stencils stick well. If you have any ridges of paint or it is wet paint, they don't stick at all, hardly. All right, I'm gonna pull all this off. I can't do it one-handed though, so I'll pull it off and get back to you again. I'm sorry for all this pause and start. Okay, I am covered in paint at this point. I pulled up some wood on accident. I grabbed a hold, so I see a shiny spot there. I took some ash paint and kind of fixed that. But then, look at this. That was between my two stencils. There, you want to see what the rest of it looks like. Not bad. But that's bothersome to me, so I have two choices. One, just to immediately paint over it with the skinny end of my paintbrush, or my sponge brush. I could do that. But I grabbed a wet rag, and I'm going to try to see if I can wash some of it off first, just to lighten it. Sometimes before paint has cured, you can scrub it and get it off. So I don't want to scrub so hard to remove all my ash underneath it, but if I scrubbed, this is a baby wipe, by the way, I think. If I scrub part of it, it will cover better, but I might be able to get most of it off. Look at that. I just have to be careful not to get my, oh, see, I got into my petal. And in my petal again. That should be a song. Okay, maybe I can scrap it with a knife. An ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure. A lot easier just to tape over that or watch what I was doing. But, yeah, no. Then I wouldn't have this video to show you. Okay, so I went all the way to the wood there. Now I'm getting paint from my C. So like I said, you have to be super careful. So now that I've got most of that off, I'm going to, you'll see my mess over here, take the skinny end and dip into some of my ash paint. Just a little bit, rub it off. And that's what I did here. I kind of covered that up. Now I'm going to just tap that in and cover that up. Could have done that to start with, but it would take more than one coat because it would have covered differently over the white color paint than it would over bare wood. So when that dries, I don't think you'll notice. All right. So our next step is waiting for paint to dry. Go do something because we can't put the center of the daisy in until our paint is dry. Now the center of the daisy, I don't care if it's a little mottled because I'm going to cover that up. That one, if I don't like it later, I'll get a paintbrush and fix it, or use a skinny end of a sponge brush and pat some more paint in there. But for the most part, I think I did pretty good with my stenciling. Not many runs, nothing that needs to be really fixed. The worst part, I think, was like kind of over there. You know, that's not bad. A little bit right through there was kind of icky, but not bad. Ooh, but I can cover a lot of that up where I smeared paint. Right there, while I got that on my brush. I smeared some paint because I didn't let it dry all the way. All right, cool. All right, I'll be back later. All right, I'm all dry to the touch, even and not cool. So I pulled off my next stencil off the blue backing, and I am going to put it kind of over the center here, wherever I feel center is. Stick that down, and again pull off one-handed. I'm going to grab my little knifey thing and help me reach underneath there. Pull off the transfer tape. One-handed on several layers of paint. Ta-da! See that wrinkle? I'm not going to press that down. I'm going to lift it up and then press it down, so I didn't press down a wrinkle. All right, now we're ready for I'm going to use this yellow, and I'm going to sponge it on just like we did the other. I will grab it. You'll walk with me and see all my mess. Oh, you might want to see the shop if you haven't seen it before. Look, we've got signs from last night. We're finishing. Stuff everywhere. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to use the one that has the ash on it. It's barely any paint. Tap off the extra. Barely any paint. And tap. There. That's it. That's kind of anticlimactic. Now, if you have other paints at home, you can like dip your Q-tips into orange paint and dot on dots in there if you want it to look like it has seeds in it, or you could dip in brown. You can use craft paint. You can even use this ash color paint, mix it with a little bit of the white that you have, and you have a gray, and you can tap some of those in. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to tap it and leave it yellow so you can see what that looks like without adding more stuff. But of course, this is yours. I mean, make it your own. Glue beads onto it if you want to. That would be cool. Cute. There she is. All done. Hope you enjoyed this craft. If you see it in the store, I will probably fix that. But I was just wanting to get your video done so you could see it. So, thanks.